Aren't you guys happy that I'm not talking about the all-stars anymore? Well, however happy you are, I am 10 times more happy. Because I get tired. I get so tired of saying the same thing over and over again. But it's necessary, so I do it. Now, I'm not going to talk about the all-stars in this video, but I do have to address one comment. It's a comment about momentum systems. And it's interesting because it gives me a chance to talk about the professional investment community. So Peter over here said, AK, if the momentum strategy is scientifically proven to work on the market and produces such great returns, why aren't most other independent traders using this type of trading system, even if it's not the all-stars? Not the all-stars? Why would anyone not use the all-stars? No, but really, Peter brings up a good point. Because I've told you guys over and over again, momentum isn't some secret strategy. It's been around forever. People have used it for decades to profit. So when Peter asks why aren't most other independent traders using it, well, in fact, they are using it. Hedge funds use it too. But a lot of them actually hide the fact that they're using it. And why would they do that? Well, they do it because it's not cool. It's not sexy. It's the opposite of all of this. Just not sexy at all. Strategies like momentum are hated on by fund managers and people who are allocating capital. So if you walk up to a majority of professional investors and you tell them you're a momentum trader, they're just gonna straight up laugh at you. Like I've always said, there is so much ego in this industry. If you're watching this channel, you probably watch billions, right? The level of ego is not that far off. Everyone is constantly trying to prove how smart they are. So if you say, yeah, I'm a momentum trader, I buy stocks that are going up, that's way too simple. You sound dumb. So the stigma around a strategy like momentum is not good. It's for simpletons, for retail traders maybe. Oh, retail traders are the worst. Even if it works, even if it makes money, doesn't matter. Because again, billions is not far off. Everybody wants to look like Bobby Axelrod. They want badass sounding strategies. They basically want the Big Short like every day. They're looking for some hero play like that. Or they want some long-term complicated options play on China's debt blowing up. Or they want some special contracts on some oil rigs because you got an inside line into OPEC and have some view on oil that no one really understands. Basically something complicated. And the less clearly you can explain what you're doing, the better. Because that must mean it's super smart. If you got an investor looking at you like this, the next thing they're going to say is, oh yes, take all my money. I don't know what you're talking about, but you must be doing something. By the way, that is a very nice watch you're wearing. It's a lot of smoke and mirrors. It's like the opposite of what Richard Feynman says. He says you don't truly understand something if you can't explain it to a 6-year-old. Meaning that you should be able to understand it so basically and simply that even a 6-year-old can understand your super complicated strategy. And when you truly don't understand what's going on, like what's happening now with a lot of the algos in the market, that's when you have all this blow up risk. It's happened before, like with long-term capital management, it'll happen again. Bunch of PhDs, so smart, making all these things, don't actually know what they're doing. Can't really explain it. Just say some complicated buzzwords, they get all the money, and then eventually they blow up. Because as you and I know, in markets, simple is almost always better. You got to be able to understand what you're doing and be able to explain it. And like I was saying, this is actually an important thing to raise money. It's really stupid. So people like to allocate their money to interesting strategies. So they think complicated means that you have some sort of edge. So you can talk about some complicated option structures or some crazy macro thematic and people love it. Or you want to at least say you're something prestigious, like a value investor. You know, everyone loves Warren Buffett. You're respectable if you're finding value in the market. Momentum trading though? Buying overpriced stocks thinking that they're gonna go higher? No way. Technical analysis, making buying and selling decisions off some pictures on a chart? No, that's not gonna fly. Again, returns, because you know, the things I mentioned do have great returns, they don't matter. It's just gotta be sexy. And it's funny because this whole business, like to be successful in the market, it's predicated on investment managers being smart enough to take advantage of the rest of the irrational people in the market. You're exploiting the rest of the market's irrationality. So you would think that these investment managers and then the people allocating money towards them would be rational. But nope, they're doing stupid stuff too. The same stupid human psychology stuff that make booms and busts, they're doing it in their own little industry. So I know a guy who's a successful systems trader, and he got his system basically down to just pushing a button. That's all he does, and it has great returns. So he started a hedge fund because his returns are awesome. He wanted to manage money. So he raised 20 million pretty quick, but he was not able to raise any more after that. And eventually he just shut the hedge fund down because compliance costs were too high and it didn't make sense keeping it open with that small amount of capital. And 20 million isn't small, but it is small in the hedge fund world. And the reason he couldn't raise more money is because he did not have a sexy story to tell people. Because when it comes to raising money, it is all about selling. You gotta sell a story, make people excited. You gotta make them think that you're doing something super cool. So what he should have done was told them that it was all artificial intelligence, that it was AI algos, neural networks working, biological algorithms. Now shit like that raises money. It's just like the VC space. It's the same concept. And we know there's a pretty big bubble there, right? We got all these ridiculous companies making $0, but they're valued at billions of dollars. Why? Because their valuations are all based on hype. The founders of those companies are selling some good stories. There's a funny joke on Twitter that I wish I still had, but it's about being a founder looking to raise money for your company. So the founder goes up to the venture capitalist and he says, listen guys, I got this great B2B software enterprise idea. It is absolutely critical to business operations because of all the data privacy changes. It's a fantastic source of recurring revenue and there are high switching costs, so we have a large moat here. VCs look at him, I think we're gonna pass. Then the founder says, also, it's on the blockchain. And then all of a sudden the VCs are like, what? What'd you say? Did you say blockchain? Founder goes, plus, we got scooters. VCs are like, take all my money, please. I want to be in this round. It's just so stupid. Gotta have that story, gotta have those buzzwords. That's how you raise money. I know this really famous technical trader, all technical analysis. He's a brilliant guy and he was even in one of the Market Wizards books. Now I can't say his name because he actually doesn't like me that much. Last time I made a video about him, I used some Real Vision clips. So James O'Shaughnessy, he shared that video on Twitter and then this guy saw it. So he called up Raoul Pal, the CEO of Real Vision, and he told him, what the hell is this? You need to make this go away. So that's when Real Vision actually hit me up and they're like, here's a cease and desist letter, but also come make a show for us. Here's a bunch of money. So I'm like, okay. So ha, Mr. Market Wizard. That was a good video too that I did for you. But anyway, when he started out, he named his fund BS Capital. Now it wasn't actually called BS Capital because I'm not going to tell you the name, but it was similar. So he told everyone that it stood for Beta Superior Capital because he's all about making alpha. No closet beta here. But in fact, in his own head and what he secretly called it was bullshit capital because he would use solely technical analysis to trade and it would make fantastic returns, but the issue is that no one will give you capital if you're a technical trader. So what he would do is trade his chart patterns like always, but then make up some BS awesome sounding story to fit around whatever trades he was doing. So people thought he was a genius, gave him a bunch of money. And that's how BS Capital was born. So even the best gotta make up stuff like that because the industry is just so stupid. And it's funny because nowadays you see value guys claiming that they're value, but then you look at their portfolio and they're in all momentum stocks. And they're like, well, value has changed, we gotta evaluate it differently. It's like, okay. And that's why when I get comments from people asking, AK, if you got such a great system, why aren't you running a fund yourself? Well, those comments are always from people who don't understand how the industry works. They don't know how bad fundraising is. It's the worst. And the thing is, when you're running a fund, fundraising becomes one of your main jobs. It's a way bigger job than trading as far as how much time you spend on it. And I've explained before how bad client management can be, right? Well, that's your other job. So those are your two main jobs. And then trading, well, that's kind of like your hobby. So of course I'm going to avoid raising a fund. And the more I talk about this in the video, the more I appreciate Stanley Druckenmiller, which I made a whole playlist about him and the other greatest traders. I'll link to it right here. But he's truly a legend, not only because he's super smart, but because he has conquered his ego and he doesn't do this irrational BS like the rest of these guys do. And actually the fact that he's conquered his ego is probably where a huge part of his edge comes from. So he does a few interviews sometimes, and when they interview him, he'll be like, yeah, I'm long Amazon. And the interviewer will be looking at him like, what? That's it? And he's like, yep. And it's funny because in a previous video, we actually looked at his 13F, which if you haven't seen that video, I'll link to it right here. But in that video, we realized a lot of his positions were the same ones we had in the All-Stars. He was trading momentum too, and he doesn't care. He'll trade momentum, he'll trade off of technical patterns, he'll do whatever it takes to make money because that's his job, to do what works. He's not worried about looking good. And another reason he doesn't have to worry about that anymore is because he just trades his own money now. He has his own family office. He doesn't want to deal with all the crap in the fundraising game or dealing with clients. And that's really the dream for all investors, to get to that point where they have enough capital where they could just manage it themselves. That way you could focus on trading, focus on doing what works, and then not worry about all this other trash. This irrationality though that I'm talking about is great for us because we can exploit these strategies that aren't cool. It's a huge advantage. It's just like the whole idea today of going to college versus going to a trade school. No one wants to go to a trade school because it's not prestigious enough. But guess what? Where I live, there is a huge shortage shortage of handymen and plumbers. The demand is super high and the supply is just not there. So these guys are banking. And on the rare occasion that you finally find a plumber to come to your house, every time I talk to one of these guys, I find out he owns his own business and he's making way more money than a doctor or any of these guys with college degrees. These guys in the trades are exploiting a huge inefficiency and they're not letting their ego get in the way. They're doing what works and they're getting paid for it. So don't be too impressed by the professionals in the industry. They're crazy and dumb just like everybody else. And honestly, you can beat them just by controlling your ego and doing what works. That may not be fancy, but it works. My buddy Chris is one of those traders who does what works and he's made a lot of money doing it. And he put together a free training on how he trades using his trade checklist. So it's an hour-long video where he shows you his checklist. You get to download a version too. And he explains how he goes through his trading every day. He shows you a bunch of examples and shows how important that checklist is to his process. And you'll see why it's made him consistently profitable, and it should help you out too. So that training is free, and if you want it, I'll put a link to a page up above and down below in the comments and descriptions. You'll go to a page, you can throw in your email and we'll send that to you. It's free, so you might as well check it out. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell so you get an email notification whenever our new videos come out. Publishing almost every single day, all about markets and business. So subscribe and I'll see you in the next video. Stay fallible out there. Bye.